Hi, fellow classmates. I'm Carolyn Allen, and today I'm going to be reviewing the article, The Relationship of Child Neglect and Physical Maltreatment to Placement Outcomes in Behavioral Adjustment in Children in Foster Care, a Canadian Perspective. Introduction. This study researched the different effects of foster care with children who were subjected to physical maltreatment or neglect prior to their stay in foster care. The findings are relevant because child welfare needs to be aware of the different needs of the two groups of children. Sampling of the study: 110 children, 79 of the children were neglected, 31 were physically abused. The children neglected were generally younger than those that had been abused. The physically abused children had a more difficult time adjusting in foster care. Once released from foster care, the neglected children were more likely to be sent back to care. An overview of child abuse and neglect. Physical maltreatment. This includes hitting, punching, burning, etc. In short, causing physical harm to a child. Neglect is considered to be the absence of a caregiver's behavior that puts a child in danger. Proposed research. The study looked at children who have been physically maltreated or neglected and their outcomes after they had been placed into foster care. The first expected outcome was that neglected children would have a worse experience in foster care compared to the children that had been physically abused. The second expected outcome was that neglected children would have more behavioral and emotional problems than the physically abused children. Method and material. The study examines children placed in foster care who have experienced domestic violence, have been victims of physical maltreatment, or victims of neglect. The study used a sample of 355 child protection files opened in 2001. The case files were studied using a standardized coding instrument. The information included the child's history of neglect or abuse, the child's number of foster care placements, and their experience while in care. The information also looked at whether or not the child's case was reopened once they left foster care. Discussion. The study looked at the relationship of children's past abuse and neglect to their experience in foster care and follow-up after their release from foster care. Sample demographics. There were a comparable number of males and females in the study. Neglected children were much younger than the children that were abused. 1/4 of neglecting families contained a single mother. A lot of the neglecting mothers had depression and substance abuse problems. 1/4 of abusive families were intact. System-related outcomes. Neglected children defied the expected outcome that they would have a breakdown in their foster care placement before abused children. Current findings did not determine that neglected children had more placement level changes in their foster placements than abused children. However, as foreseen, once discharged from foster care, neglected children were more likely to have their cases reopened than the abused children. Behavior-related outcomes once foster care is left. Neglected children were no more likely to be on one or more medications for behavioral or emotional reasons. Implications for service delivery. Abused children experience more behavioral problems in foster care. Services needed for abused and neglected children needs to be assessed to identify what services they need. Further education needs to be available for service workers, foster parents, and other professionals involved in the care of children who have been abused or neglected. In conclusion, further research needs to be done to track children who are placed in foster care for longer periods of time. It would be helpful to look into the differences in presentation between neglect and abuse by using assessment results to further study the difficulties that abused and neglected children face. The study shows that child abuse and neglect has many risk factors, occurs within complex family structures, and in chaotic environments. It would benefit the children if their individual needs were met through different services based upon their type of abuse. In other words, foster care is not one size fits all. My reference is the article, The Relationship of Child Neglect and Physical Maltreatment to Placement Outcomes and Behavioral Adjustment in Children in Foster Care, a Canadian Perspective, which is found in the Child Welfare Journal. Thanks for viewing, folks. I'll see you later.